Probably the highlight, I would say, of convention was the energy. Even though we're in trying times in terms of prices and cost, and we have some folks having to make some hard decisions, we were able to celebrate agriculture.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast. I'm your host, Karl Wiggers, and today we are in the boardroom here at the state office in Louisiana Farm Bureau. I've got with me President Richard Fontenot. President Fontenot, we're fresh off of convention. We're a little over a week removed from convention. We had our big post-convention meeting this morning where we kind of talked through the things that went great and some of the things that we can maybe improve on. But thanks for being here. What did you think about convention?
Oh, well, first off, thank you, Karl, for what you and the rest of the department does in sharing our message. But yeah, we're fresh off convention. Got reelected for my third term, but more importantly, we had record numbers in attendance. Really exciting energy, really exciting activities, relevant speakers, and our volunteers that were able to attend really got to see the lion's share of what we do, and we had something for everyone. Whether you were 4 or 5, we had youth activities, or till you were a senior in your career, you had opportunities to visit and do different things throughout the convention. So it was a really good week for our Farm Bureau family.
I know we had something different this year, the Kids Corner, which I know was part of your idea. Your executive committee kind of came up with that idea of having somewhere for kids to be, but you also had with you, kind of as a guest, they were a guest of our convention, but one of your counterparts from another state Farm Bureau who came and said, "Whoa, my goodness, this is quite the experience coming to y'all's convention." Tell me who came to convention and kind of what they were saying about convention.
You know, Louisiana we're always known for our hospitality and the like. And a friend of mine, a counterpart, Michigan Farm Bureau President Ben LaCrosse, he and Kelsey, his wife, came down and participated in some of the judging activities. But more importantly, had the opportunity to see what we do and how we do it. You know, every state's independent. Every state has their own activities. And they were just kind of set back on the fact of how much youth and family activities we had embellished within our convention to really highlight the unity of what we do and all the different activities we carry. They were really excited to be a part of it and volunteer their time, but really excited to see the dynamics and hospitality of our Southern folks here, and was really excited and complimentary of all.
Well, you and I were both kids that came to Farm Bureau convention, and it's very natural for us, very commonplace for us to think about it's a multi-generational event, but it's interesting when you think about it, that's probably not the norm. Is that kind of what you hear from some other states?
Every state's different, again, but coming up in this organization and the fact that we include, I look back and a couple of instances, I saw 4 generations and a lot of 3 generations, family folks attending convention. And that says a lot about what we do and who we represent. And I'm very proud of that. Mm-hmm. And, not every state have the youth activities, so it's a little more policy driven. So they have different agendas and a little shorter events. We tend to stretch ours out a little longer. Growing up, this was my family vacation,
yep.
So we spent our day in New Orleans and playing as kids. So as long as we provide those opportunities and we culture those youth, that's how we build generations to come. That's how we can be sustainable. This was the 104th annual convention, which is really centennial in a lot of different respects. And you look at our country fixing to celebrate our 250th anniversary. Those things don't just happen. You have to reinvest in the future. You have to support them. You have to share your story. And we had the opportunity to do that last week in New Orleans.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And, it's not just a place for our members. It's definitely a place for our members. And you mentioned the record numbers, 1,600 plus. Is that what we said?
Yeah, in excess of 1,600 from what I'm hearing.
That's an incredible number of folks coming. But a lot of folks come that are not maybe members, but they're not there wearing their member hat. They're there because they want to be in front of our members. There were a lot of folks, stakeholders, policymakers, lawmakers that were coming to our convention because our convention is a place to be.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, and I've always said the story, the producer, the farmer himself is the nucleus of agriculture, but it takes a lot of layers outside of that to make agriculture successful. And one of the rings around the nucleus is our legislators and our friends that help implement and kind of steer policy, which is what we're doing. Is our ultimate goal at the end of the convention is develop a policy for a year, but have the stakeholders, but more importantly, have those lawmakers with us. We had Senate and House Ag Committee chairs there. We had most of the congressional leadership either was in person or wanted to participate via message. But we had a lot of folks that wanted to be a part of what we do because they understand the impacts that we make, the relevance of our topics, and the importance of the rural agriculture communities that we represent throughout this state.
Right. You and I yesterday were in St. Landry Parish, where a lot of those similar players are at a table talking about disaster, which, by the way, during convention, we had that devastating tropical storm come through, and a lot of our folks in the Boyles and St. Landry parishes in that central part of the state were heavily impacted. And a lot of them were at convention hearing about what's going on back home. And it was a really a curveball that was kind of thrown to farmers, which is just another reason why the policy work that happens, the relationship work that happens at convention is so important.
My heart goes out to those families in the Vols Parish, South Rapides, and the like, and that are impacted with this. I mean, you're talking about 25, 30 inches of rain in less than 24 hours. Mm-hmm. No one's built for that. You're going to have impacts, and they're still healing from that and trying to address those needs with those. So, yeah, we've had outreach meetings and different stuff, but we didn't forget about them. I had some parish presidents who were able to come, but a lot of other folks had to turn around and go back. Just yesterday, I was talking with a gentleman from St. Landry that had to turn around, was coming to convention, but had to turn around and take care of some of the elderly folks who were concerned about some flood waters coming down the pipeline. Because at the end of the day, that enormous rainfall has to travel south. Mm-hmm. It has to go through our estuaries and all the way to the Gulf. And it impacts a lot of our low-lying areas, in which a lot of producers are part of, and our livestock and our crops. And visiting with the commissioner yesterday, we're not too sure what kind of economic damage we're facing, but 50 to 80% of some crops in a lot of areas are devastated and will not be harvested. Mm-hmm. And in the situation we're in now in agriculture, I mean, the line is so thin with input costs and the prices where they are. This could be a very pivotal point in a lot of those producers' careers, and we have to be aware of that. And that's kind of what the meeting was yesterday, to share opportunities and how to document and move forward from this to, if there is a tomorrow, how do we get there?
What took me there was thinking about Craig McCain, state FSA director, who was there in the room yesterday, but he was also at our convention. He actually was part of this public policy lunch, which is a few years, I guess we've had that going on for a few years now. Where we've had, maybe Clay Higgins come and sit in and talk with us in a forum setting, but this year it was a bunch of folks from USDA, FSA. How impactful is that type of, getting those types of players to our convention to talk to our producers? That's huge, right?
It is. If you take the changes that we've had, and with this new administration, they've made some USDA changes. DOJ came in and made some recommendations. And from a national perspective, they're looking at reallocating resources, putting people boots on the ground a little more regionally as it relates to their different fields. So, but you had, three of our premier USDA leaders. You had Rural Development was there, we had the NRCS was there, and Mr. Craig with FSA. Those sharing their stories and their changes, what's coming in the pipeline to our growers is relevant and timely, so that we can embrace them, we can guide them, we can facilitate change and have those conversations. And it's always a proud moment when they want to come share with us. We probably had 250 plus folks just in that one particular luncheon. But more importantly, they stayed throughout the week and interacted with our folks and interacted in our policy development on the front end with our parish presidents and throughout the process and all the way up to Sunday. So we can make sure we can do this collectively and make sure these asks that we're doing and attempts we're trying to make are something that we can actually execute at the end of the day. Yeah,
it's a real partnership. It's not just flying in for this one meeting or just coming in for that lunch. Craig McCain was there. I know, Troy Romero, they're there and they're invested and they're having those conversations, probably more impactful conversations on the side or throughout the entire convention, not just in that hour.
Yeah, they're not a guest speaker, come in and come out, fly back next day, and nothing against that, but they're vested in what we do. They take ownership, they take pride. In fact, Sarah Trishell, our new state NRCS chief, she and I talked about ways to outreach and do some trainings and efforts they're trying to do, and how can we as a Farm Bureau organization partner to help new leadership coming in and new folks within those various departments, because we have a unique industry, and there's a lot of specialty things that we do, and you don't learn everything in the classroom. You got to put boots on the ground in some instances. Craig's done it with some of his staff, and we've done it with legislative leadership and bring down throughout the year. It's always how do we share the message, but more importantly, how do we show them the message so they can share it on our behalf in those various venues.
Let's talk about, you talked about the multi-generational aspect of convention, and it's not unusual to see those multiple generations all in a room like that, and it's special. But one of the things I think that we talked about a minute ago that makes our convention special is so much the youth activities, the talk meet, discussion meets with the young farmers and ranchers, talent and queens competitions, and that youth, I know that's important to you. Getting them involved in Farm Bureau at that early age, how valuable is that, maybe not next year, but next decade? Well,
when you look at agriculture, like we talked earlier, you got a lot of layers around that nucleus, and it takes a system. Whether that individual, the quicker we get someone interested in agriculture, that doesn't mean they're going to be a producer, but they might be in ag extension, they might be in soil conservation, they might be in education, they might be a consultant in agri-science, they might be a researcher, might be a developer, a variety of things. But the more we can entice the top tier of folks in agriculture, the better chance we have of having that safety net support around us, so we can have the best tools to do what we do each and every day. But more importantly, those allies down the road, because a lot of these folks are going to be on a local police jury somewhere. They're going to take a leadership position in something they do in their future, and that give us an opportunity they'll know where they came from. We have interns within our program, and it gives them an opportunity to see what we do and why we do it. So they might have a different role down the road, but they understand who we are. So when we share our message and reach out to folks, we can articulate that more accurately.
Does that encourage you? Are you optimistic about the future, seeing the number of little ones running around convention, or just even the teenagers running around our convention?
Oh, it's always exciting. It's always fun. It brings a different energy. It kind of highlights the Farm Bureau family and a generational component to that. It's exciting. We have some challenging times in agriculture, but our faith and our family bring us through those challenging times on a daily basis. And to have that support and recognition, I think is critical for what we can do long term and get us through those hard times, but also celebrate the victories and celebrate those good things that we do. And the youth contest is really a way to highlight some of the young talented people we coming out of rural Louisiana that understand agriculture. They want to be a part of agriculture in the future, and we have a succession opportunity in various programs, talk meet for the high school, and then even collegiate level and young farmers. We have discussion meets and a lot of those venues that allow for recognition, but more importantly, allows for engagement, allows for participation, allows for different folks to see what we do so we can move forward and make our organization even bigger and protect agriculture even longer. Yeah.
Looking back at the week that was our convention, is it possible to pick out a favorite moment, a favorite interaction, a favorite thing you maybe saw just from the other side of the room that stands out to you when you think back on the week?
Probably the highlight, I would say, of convention was the energy and the excitement of agriculture. Even though we're in trying times in terms of prices and cost, and we have some folks having to make some hard decisions, we were able to celebrate agriculture and the energy in celebrating that with various generations of kids. And I enjoyed. I brought my kid there, but he's 20 years old. Doesn't have the energy the 4-year-olds did, but you got to see that energy, that excitement, and everyone involved sharing the message of agriculture, working on solutions cooperatively and moving forward on that. That was probably my highlight of the convention.
Convention's over, but the work doesn't stop. We have now policy to work on for the next year, to work off of. but the work doesn't stop. I know you got farming to get to. You have more Farm Bureau Council of Presidents coming, right? Isn't that coming up this week? Tell me what's coming down the road for you, Richard.
In agriculture, it never stops. Rain or shine, the days accumulate, and you still got to take care of your crop or your livestock or whatever it may be. A lot of us, we celebrated agriculture for a week in New Orleans, and we come back and we have to come back to the farm, tend to the crops. In fact, starting getting equipment ready. Harvest is around the corner. In fact, we have some of our friends down south that are harvesting already on the rice side. Some folks are harvesting some corn in the central part of the state as well. But in addition to that, Congress never sleeps. It never stops. We talk about safety nets and farm bills and labor issues. Those are constant topics of discussion, but it's a work in progress. In fact, I'm flying out Sunday, heading for the Council of Presidents with American Farm Bureau representing Louisiana in that capacity. And we're going to have those hard conversations on how we can make labor affordable, available, and reasonable in the expectations it has, as well as the Farm Bill and the safety net and the dynamics there. We have a House version. We have something that came out of the Senate last week. Now we have to put them together. We have to get them to conference and get them to something that our bankers can use, and we can make production loans for 27. So all these different things is what we do each and every day, and we have a great staff in Baton Rouge that does the daily intricate details of it, and they allow us to step up and be participating in those conversations. And we have the policy we developed at convention that we use as our guide, if you will, as we move forward in these negotiations. But it doesn't matter if it's Make America Healthy Again, or if it's a Farm Bill or nutrition. The Secretary of Ag's got some agenda items. We're going to be visiting with her this week. But all those different components are what the various lugs within the wheel that turns agriculture. And we do that every day, as well as what we do back at home to grow the crops and feed the world.
Well, I want to say, as one of those staff members in Baton Rouge, thank you, because we wouldn't be able to do the things that we do without volunteers like you and the countless others that came to convention that are on the farm every day, that let us put a camera in their face, or that actually step up and are the leaders that we need to carry that message, because we can only do so much without having somebody to sit down on a podcast with us. So thank you, Richard.
We have a great leadership team. I feel very blessed. Our state board is really active. We have good opportunities to discuss challenges, and we have hard conversations. But at the end of the day, we come out unified and share that voice. And we share the story. Y'all help us share it. And we are what makes Louisiana strong and has a future. And we are the voice of Louisiana agriculture.
Thank you, Richard Fontenot, our entire executive committee and state board, for all you do for agriculture, not just at convention, but every day of the year. We know that y'all's leadership out in the parish level is just what makes this organization run. If you want to learn more about Louisiana Farm Bureau, if you want to get involved at your parish level, we'll have links to do that in the show notes. For all of us here at Farm Bureau, the Farm Bureau podcast, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.